Welcome back to Motor Mouse Garage, guys. So I know in the last video you guys saw me install my Ron Davis radiator. Working great. Had it on for about a week now, but one thing I don't like, and that is when it's really hot outside. So we're talking above 100 degrees. My AC is terrible. So what I would like to do is I would like to install an auxiliary fan in the JDM location. I'm not using the JDM fan. I'm using this big hoss right here. So ideally, let me take you over to the 80 series. Ideally, I assume the JDM version used to have an auxiliary fan right here that apparently works pretty well. I decided to forego the JDM parts and the 100 series aux fan, many things you can do. And I went with a fan of questionable quality. So I went with a, what is it, a derail? Let's see. That brand. So you can find it on Summit Racing. Apparently it's 2000 CFM, so it's a lot of airflow, which is exactly what I want. We're gonna try it. If it doesn't work, you're gonna hear it here first. So we're gonna do a couple things. So in order to fit it here, we're gonna have to make some custom brackets, which I plan on doing with this old aluminum skid plate. I'm just gonna use it as like flat stock basically. And then we need to wire it up, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a switch on the inside. So I'm gonna run a ground wire that runs all the way in there and is gonna complete the circuit of the relay that I'm gonna wire this up with. But the primary activation is gonna be off of this AC pressure switch. So that AC pressure switch has an additional switch in it for when the AC system is kind of overpressure, which on JDM Land Cruisers, from my understanding, would activate the auxiliary fan, right? So we're gonna use it for the same purpose. And I happen to have an old wiring harness up there for the 80 series, among some other things, that we're gonna use to basically pin the two missing connectors. And I'll show you when we get to that point. But enough talking. Let's get to work and let's take this front grille off and take some measurements and see what's going on. Hopefully this footage comes out pretty decent. Oh, this is upsetting. Definitely a lot easier to get these out when the bumper wasn't on here. FYI. But we're here now. Almost there. Dude, this guy's a fighter. Does not want to cooperate with us here. Let's try my screwdriver again, since this wants to be at an angle now. There we go. All right. Not putting this back in there. See, way easier. So I'm replacing that grill piece with these bolts instead of screws. I knew that was gonna bite me. I don't know why I did that. All right, so now looks like we just got that center zip tie we gotta nix and we'll be good. I don't know, I was trying to keep it factory, guys, with using the Phillips heads. Wouldn't recommend it. All that just to get this grill off. So now that this grill's off, we can measure up our fan and kind of see if we can fit this somewhere that makes sense. It's gonna be a very tight fit, but I think it's gonna be perfect, dude. Oh yeah. Look at that. So you're probably wondering why I don't just like run some zip ties through, because it did come with them, but it's not the best way to mount a fan. You want it to be a little bit off of the radiator to allow for like better airflow or some craziness like that. Dude, I think I can get away with a top L bracket and probably maybe a bottom L bracket too. And that'll cover most of what we're doing here. What do you think? I think it looks pretty good. Center of the fan, covering pretty much the entire condenser, which is exactly what we want. You can probably move those horns up just a tad. So I'm thinking, I don't know if you guys can see this on the GoPro, but taking an L bracket just from right here, so some flat stock in the shape of an L, and maybe go here and yeah, pretty much call it good from that point on. So it'll basically sit behind the horns, and I think that'll work. And it'll be a good distance away from the radiator itself. So the bottom bracket, I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that out. I don't know where I'm gonna hang that from just yet. At least we know she fits. That was my main worry. So we're pretty tight fit. So it fits almost perfectly within this area, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take some aluminum flat stock that I'm gonna cut out, which is just gonna come from that skid plate. I'm gonna make a little L bracket that comes off of here and comes across. Or what I could do is just have a square piece come down and just mount across like that, just so it mounts to the top bolts of the radiator fan, right? And as far as the bottom piece, I'm thinking, I don't know if this is threaded here, but I'm thinking maybe a flat piece here that runs all the way across to somewhere on this midsection, maybe to this cooler, all the way over here. So I'm thinking just like a flat, like 2 or 3 inch piece that sits across the bottom. And hopefully that won't impede airflow too much, but I think we'll be okay. And then I want to tilt these fans up a little, or sorry, tilt these horns up a little bit, just this one specifically because it's hanging a little low, and get that fan as high as I can and just mount it directly off of here. So I'm going to get some cardboard and I'm going to kind of measure this out. I'm just going to leave the camera rolling while you guys watch me dream this up a little bit, because I'm not very much of a fabricator, but first I got to get set up and get all my stuff, so I'll be back. Okay. So here's my plan. Rethinking that plan, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a flat strap of aluminum that goes across, and then I'll have one side like this that goes straight up. Basically, I'm going to do one flat piece that goes across to these 2 bolt holes, right? And I'm going to have this piece go at a 90-degree up, which will coincide with this bolt right here, and then I'll have another piece that kind of goes at an angle and coincides with this bolt right here. And because these are about the same level from here to here, so one is not deeper than the other. So basically I'm going to stick one part of the bracket behind here by my latch, and then the other part is just going to come straight off of here, right? So that is my plan, and there's not just a big chunk of aluminum right here blocking all my airflow. So I think I'm just going to follow the parts that are already going to be blocked, and then just make parts that shoot off and connect to stuff, basically. So that means for my CAD, or cardboard aided design, we got going here, we basically need a flat strap, and we can go across like this, right? So we can kind of cut this to be all fancy. But the important part is the fan holes right here. And I don't know if you can see what I'm doing on the GoPro, but I'll show you this CAD when we're done. And then I'm also going to put this lower limit right here, because I don't want to overdo it where it's blocking the fan airflow, right? So this will give me ballpark. Okay, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be perfect enough. Oh wow, that actually works really well. So, we've got our little piece here, right? We basically just have our fan trace for the top. Here's what we got. So this is basically just the top of the fan right here. And now what we need are offshoots, one straight up right here, bloop, bloop. And then another one that kind of trails off at an angle on this side that attaches to the bolt that's way over here. This one is just right above, it'll be super easy. But I'm gonna cut out pretty much all of this on cardboard right here, so I know the distances for everything. Actually, I think I'm gonna cut all the way out here, basically. So that'll give me a good buffer room on where to place those little offshoots. And then I'll mark the offshoots, and then we'll just draw some flat strap there. Or not flat strap, but the aluminum. And then I'll put the cardboard on aluminum and cut it out as best I can. It's gonna be close, it's not gonna be perfect, but I think it'll be perfect enough for what it is. So let me get this cut out. I'm gonna do that off camera, and then I'll show you the mock-up process on the GoPro. All right, so this is essentially more or less where our fan is going to sit, right? And this is why I outlined this top portion. Now, if I draw a flat strap that pretty much goes straight up like this, and then one that shoots over in this direction, I might actually do it possibly to this latch. The only problem is I don't want this latch, like anything to sit off this latch basically and put it at a disadvantaged angle, right? I could also do from here to here. So I might just do this bracket and to here and to up here. I think that makes the most sense. And then I think there's plenty of thread to get the aluminum in between here. If not, I'll find a longer bolt. But I'll show you with the marker. So again, this is gonna be pretty much right up against here, right? I'm gonna cut off this little corner. It's messing me up a little bit. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, there we go. This is essentially gonna be where that top of the fan sits. So, I need a bracket that comes up 90 degrees like this. And I just needed to know the length, and this should be plenty of length right here. And then for this guy, I need to know the length this way. So, if I make this exactly how the fan is, I can basically just make a offshoot down here, right? Like that. Probably extend this a little bit farther so we got some overlap. And I'll use my imagination for that part because I cut that off. But I really think this bracket can do it just like this, at least for the top. I'll leave some extra room on both of these pieces and up there, and then I'll trim as I go. And then this, I'll just bolt the fan directly right here. I think this is gonna work. Okay. Next step is to cut this entire piece out. All right, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm literally just gonna cut the entire piece out like this. It's gonna look super weird on aluminum once it's cut out, but it'll make more sense as we go, I promise. Okay, hope this is starting to make a little bit more sense. Now I'm going to transfer this over to my aluminum piece and try to cut this out as one piece, but we'll see. So I'm going to try to save as much material as I can, but we'll see. Okay, there she is, and we need to cut this out now. Haven't worked out how I'm going to do that just yet. I've got a saw that I can use, and then I'll probably have to edge it up with a grinder, more than likely. So let's keep going. This is a metal blade, by the way. Hope I've got enough juice in these batteries. Could really use a workbench, you know, if there are any workbench makers watching this. Probably not. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do, my initial cut is probably just gonna be just cut out the rough shape, right? That's probably the smartest way to go about it. It's like I'm working in squalor over here. Sometimes I do miss working in a shop. I said sometimes. Leave me some room. I'm gonna put on some safety glasses before I get too crazy. Making good use of the skid plate. If you own a Subaru, you know what this skid plate is. And you're probably crying right now because I don't know how available these are anymore. But it is what it is. More mess to clean up later, but here's a little bit of what we got. So I think the best way to do this is to just take my grinder and go really slow around the whole thing. But audio is going to be pretty bad, so I might just set up a time lapse for you guys with the GoPro, and you can watch that. Here's what I got so far, guys. It needs to be cleaned up. I know the lighting probably isn't the best right here, but I think this might just work. I think we're looking good here. So essentially this is pretty much where this fan is going to sit. We've got this bolt to lock it in over here with plenty of room on the other side. It's going to go in front of this cooler right here, so we're going to close the distance back here, but I'm going to chop off this end because this doesn't need to be here, and maybe this, I don't know, this kind of helps me like line everything up, and I want some extra meat here in case I have to move the fan down and the bracket up a little bit. But this for sure can get lost. But we're looking good. I kind of messed up right here, but once I chop it off to the level it needs to be, it won't even be noticeable, and I'll just drill a hole. So here we go. We're going to continue. Okay, we have some progress, guys. Let me show you what we got. So I'm mounted up here. I already drilled the holes and got the bracket where I want it to be. Now it's just a matter of getting the fan right where it needs to be. So as you can see, my harebrained idea is slowly coming together as I get attacked by various bugs, night bugs. But I'm thinking this is a pretty decent spot to leave this sucker. So I'm going to mark maybe up a little bit. There we go. I think right there will give us plenty of room. I'm gonna mark this. I'll mark this over here. And then all we gotta do is drill those holes, and we have the top bracket of our fan. I still haven't really thought about the bottom. I'm dreaming it up right now. I'm kind of thinking how it goes together. So I have a little bit of an issue with it mounting to the bottom of the cooler here because there's a rusted bolt that's broken off in the cooler. So that might be a no-go to mount the bottom. But dude, this top bracket's pretty solid. I don't just want to mount it by the top bracket though, because that's kind of ghetto. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think of something up for the bottom bracket that makes sense. Thinking maybe, like I said, off of this piece. I don't know if these holes are threaded. If they're threaded, I'll build it off of this. If not, I might take this power steering cooler off and try to drill that hole out or weld the nut to it or something to get it out, because I think that would be an awesome spot for the rest of it. So I think I'm going to drill these 2 holes, and then I might call it for the night. It's getting a little dark and these bugs are pissing me off. But I'm going to take this back off and we're going to drill these holes so the fan can sit there, and then I'm going to clean up a little bit, mostly just my table, and then I'll leave all this stuff off for tomorrow. But yeah, so I just need to figure out how I'm going to mount it on the bottom, because I want it to at least have one attachment point on the bottom. And this is looking very promising over here. And I kind of want to see if these are threaded right now, so I have an idea of what I'm going to be working with here. Oh, I think these are threaded, dude. They might just need to be cleaned up, the threads, but I think these are threaded, which means, are they both threaded? Oh, hell yeah, they're both threaded. Okay, so that might actually make my job easier, because essentially now what I can do is I can just make an L piece that comes down and goes to the bottom of the fan. So I'm going to mount it at the top, and then I'm going to shove some cardboard in there and just measure where this bracket is right here. Actually, probably what I'll do is I'll measure the bottom of the fan on cardboard, and then I'll come back and I'll make like an L shape, kind of like here. It's not going to be mounted by all 4 sides, so I'm just going to put basically holes in it, or maybe a giant slot. I don't know if you guys can see that on the GoPro. I can barely see it in real life, but essentially this is what I'm talking about, this little bracket for the condenser right here. I'm just going to get some shorty 10 bolts, and then I'll just bolt it just out here in the ether. I think this is plenty to keep it stable, like back and forth. And then that's just lower support to help support a little bit more weight, and so it doesn't flop around in the wind or anything like that. And I think that's gonna work. Seems like a good idea. Like I said, I would use this right here, but there's like a busted bolt in here, and I don't really feel like going through that much effort right now. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about the way this is gonna mount up, like way better than I thought it was gonna be. And then here I'm just gonna put riv nuts in here, I think. That way I can just remove the fan without removing the whole bracket, and we'll be good, dude. These fans are already mounted. Anyway, all right, enough bullshitting, but let me get this cleaned up, and I'll be back tomorrow morning, and we'll finish this, at least the mounting part. The wiring's not gonna take long at all. I already have a solution for that, so I shall return. Afternoon, guys, we're back. If you're wondering why I'm wearing this, I wanted to show you guys. So remember how I said yesterday that I wasn't gonna extract that broken bolt from the little cooler, the transmission cooler mount? Well, I lied. So I busted out my welder, since this is pretty much the only thing I use it for now. So I don't have any fab projects, but that was the bolt that was stuck in here, and now our bracket will span across the entire bottom. So the reason why I did this is I just wanted to make one like square piece that went across the bottom. I don't know why I spent so much time making this like perfectly curved top piece when I definitely could have just put a flat piece. Well, that one's a little different, but I could have just did an L bracket or something like that. The bottom is going to be a lot easier because I'm going to bolt it to that one side that I showed you guys last night, and then now I'm going to bolt it to this bracket. So I'm just going to put like basically a flat strap all the way across, and that should do it. You know, maybe it'll dip down in the middle or something like that. I don't know, but I need to dream that up real quick, so I'm going to get some cardboard and pretty much do the same thing. So I got the bottom piece mocked up. And essentially, this is what we're going to look like. So this is the cutout I did right here. So these are roughly where the holes are for both the fan and then where they're going to mount underneath on either side. So I tried to keep this as simple as I possibly could, but naturally that didn't really happen. So I'm going to cut this out and hopefully trim it up a little bit to where it roughly matches this weird shape. Basically the reason why I'm doing these like dips right here is simply because I don't want to block any of the airflow. I think this I could probably just cut straight across. I don't think I need to follow the curve right here, so I might just do that because it'll be easier. But yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at. I realize this right here is gonna suck when cutting with a saw, so I don't know. I probably should have flipped it the other way. I should have flipped it this way, if I'm honest. But it's a lot more material to cut out later, unless I did this. I should have did this. This was the move, I think. I think I still will do this. Makes a lot more sense because I can just cut a straight line pretty much right across. So let me retrace this and do it the smart way. I don't really think I need this little piece either. Right here that like juts out. I can pretty much just take it straight across and then we'll work out the rest. Okay, let me retrace this and I'll cut it out and I'll time lapse it for you guys. After a lot of fitting, a lot of trimming, and a lot of measuring, I think we've got an okay solution to mount this fan now. So one thing is this is a little bit at an angle. So maybe potentially in the future I'm going to bend this because I do have a press brake. It's just not set up right now and I'm not trying to spend literally all day here. But we have the bolts in and it's mounted. I need to order more M6 riv nuts because there's none locally, and that is my last one right there. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to zip tie this fan on until I get these riv nuts in, and then I'll do a continuation video or just add it to the back end of this video because I already ordered some. But ideally I would like it all bolted on here in the future. So I at least have one bolt that's gonna work. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna mount this fan, see how everything fits. Like I said, I'm just gonna zip tie it on here for right now. I mean, if you think about it, the original intention behind this was to zip tie it to your radiator anyway. So I think it'll be okay for short term. I definitely want to put riv nuts in there because I already have one in there. I might as well put the other 3 in there. And I know it's gonna work. So yeah, let's get this fan mounted temporarily, and then we'll do wiring, which I don't think is going to take too long. I'll show you what I'm going to do for the AC pressure switch, which reminder is down here. I'm just going to cut off one harness and then depin it, and then use those pins to basically have a ground wire. I don't know if I'll wire up the switch today because I still don't know where I want to put it. I kind of want to put it like out of the way, not really like super noticeable, just because I don't think I'm really going to use it all that often, and it's mainly for the AC. And I just want it there for, like, you know, when I'm rock crawling or doing any slow speed off-road stuff, right? So let me get this fan mounted and then we can start on the wiring finally. Here we are mounted, ladies and gents. Doesn't get in the way, and dude, pretty solidly mounted on here. I also took the opportunity to just get these wires up here out of the way. So now we got to work on the wiring, which I have to go get. I'm going to use some new connectors that I saw on YouTube that look pretty cool. That actually Alex from Legit Street Cars, he was using them on one of his builds. I don't remember which one, but they looked interesting, and it's a crimp and solder. So I'll show you, you'll see. But now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave these wires out for right now, but I'm gonna wire the relay up in here. I probably need to chop off part of the harness, which I'm gonna do right now, but let me get everything set up for wiring, and then this should be pretty quick. Luckily with wiring, I'm pretty good. So here we have a relay. I realize I'm also missing a fuse. I think I have an extra one that I can throw on this so it doesn't fry anything. But so far what I'm going to do, so I'm going to put this relay on the power side. So therefore I'm going to ground the relay coil, or not ground. I'm going to connect the relay coil power side and the fan power side together. And then this is the relay ground side, and this is going to go to my switch on the AC pressure switch, right? And then that's just going to go to ground over there in the corner, like right there. Boop, boop, boop. And then this is going to go to the fan itself, and then the fan's just going to go to ground. And I think that will get us going. And let me show you what I'm going to be using. And this is not sponsored. It just looks cool. And I don't know if this is going to work, but solder stick connections. Basically what you do is you just get these guys hot, and it melts solder and it weatherproofs it. So I'm going to try this out. I don't know how these work. I'll let you be the judge, and I'll let you know if I have to end up redoing this. But I can show you at least a little bit when I connect these two wires together. But I need to extend these so these go to the power wire to the fan. Now I'm going to mount the relay like back here. I'll show you once that portion goes live, but essentially there's like a little bolt right here that I'm going to take off and mount the relay to, just so it's like out of the battery box. It's already getting a little bit clustered, and it kind of puts it where the rest of my relays are. So let me get these wires, the power wires, extended here. This doesn't I think this only needs to be extended a little bit because this is just going to go to battery, right? So the real extension comes with the blue wire, which is the other side of the normally open relay. So one sec. Like I said, relay is going to mount somewhere around here, and I just need to extend these two wires over here to the battery, like so. So I really only need maybe that much wire. We're just gonna chop this right here, like so. That's gonna get its own terminal, and then I can use the rest to wire to the fan. Hopefully I have enough of that, but let me go strip these wires. So apparently all you've got to do is overlap these in here, and then you can melt these together. Let's actually see if that's the case. So I'm using a lighter, so I gotta be a little bit careful. They recommend you do this with a heat gun. I don't really have a heat gun. See, oof, a little soft. Wait until this cools down a little bit before I tug on it. I don't know, guys. I don't know how I feel about this. Takes a little while to cool down. Okay. Once it's actually cool, pretty decent connection. I don't know. I'll run it and I'll see. I'm not convinced just yet, but we'll see how this plays out, I guess. It seems legit. I can give this a pretty decent tug. I wish that solder would melt a little bit better, personally. I don't know. Let's see if the camera will focus. You be the judge, guys. Like I said, you're supposed to do it with a heat gun, so maybe that's why, but I'm not totally sold on these, but that's why I'm kind of keeping these wires accessible for right now. But what I will put on here, put on my little Wi-Fi heat shrink connectors that I normally use. These guys, and hopefully that will help me out even more. So these guys I always use a lighter on, totally fine. Okay. All right, we're gonna see how that works. So I'm gonna get the rest set up like this. So I've got my terminal crimped on here. I'm gonna get everything staged and then kind of just show you how I did it. Okay, before I get too far ahead of myself, quick update. I've got the main fan, power and ground, good to go. I believe if I do this, nope, okay, won't work. But, so, check this out. This is a pin from my old harness that I took off of this. Which is why you always save harnesses, guys, because you can use these pins. So this is going to mate directly into this little AC pressure switch, right? And it's just a switch. So when it triggers, it's going to, when it goes over pressure, it closes the circuit, and then it's going to turn on the fan. So what I'm going to do is plug this in and then plug the temperature switch back in. And everything else is pretty much routed, ready to go. I'm gonna put some electrical tape on this because it looks a little ugly, but apart from that, oh, and I almost forgot to do this, but this is gonna be for my switch, my ground switch, which I will wire up eventually, but this is just gonna chill inside of the firewall grommet for right now. But let me get this set up, and then hopefully we can let this run and test it and see if it comes on. So I already verified that the fan works just from grounding this switch instead of, you know, actually running it through its paces, because that would suck if we just turned everything on and wired everything up correctly just for it not to work correctly. That would be very unfortunate, but you know, I've done it before. So as far as like pinning this thing goes, I don't know if you guys can see, I'll take you along with me in like 1 second, but as far as sticking the pins in here, you have to raise this white piece, right? And then you'll push it in through the back, and you'll hear a pretty distinctive click. And then when we're ready, we can push this white piece back down, and this kind of just locks it in place. So I have a little bit of a, actually, we're not grounded yet, but we're gonna have a little bit of a moment of truth to see if this fan comes on, see if this is normally open or normally closed. So there is that portion, and I don't know where my ring terminal end got to. It's over here. Okay, good. So we at least know that this is normally open, or at least it's open when it's off. So that's good. Now I just need to get my ring terminal through here, and then we just got to ground it out to right there. Okay, so back on me. I think we're at a point where we can test this a little bit. What I can do, I can verify and show you guys that this does actually work. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to ground this to the battery. Hopefully. Oh, you know what? I think I know what I did. So this ground wire switch is actually on the wrong side. This is on the negative side of the switch, or the side that needs to be on in order for this to run correctly. So I need to swap this over to the other side like a big dummy. So let me do that, and then we'll have a proper test. But this is why we test things before we put them away, right? All right, take two. So now that I've got those wires corrected, see that our fan works, and our relay works, and all of our wiring works. Good news. Okay. So I'm just going to probably tidy up this wire. I'm not going to wire up the switch, but I will do it. We're going to throw the grill back on, and then we're going to test her, see if she works. So let me clean up quite a bit, get the grill back on, and then I'll be back. All right, you guys aren't gonna believe me, but I just heard the fan turn on. It actually turns on with the AC compressor, which is pretty nice. Oh, there it is. So, turns on with the AC compressor, which is good. It's also very loud, but you know, that's what you get. And more importantly, this AC is cold. Now granted, it's not super hot today, so I'll see how it works. Hopefully next week, I don't know, the hot temps are kind of ending right now, but I think if I let it heat soak a while, it'll work. But as you can probably hear, it's super loud. We got it to work, guys, so that's pretty sick. Let me turn it off. So it'll stay on, I think, for a little bit. Oh, okay. So as soon as you take the key off, it turns off. So that's interesting. And that, I don't have that hooked up to the switch. That's just the AC pressure switch that's hooked up to. But guys, for now, that is a successful install. So I think I'll add like an amendum to this video, or somewhere within that video, or this video, you know, actually mounting it properly and putting a fuse on the power wire, because I don't trust it. It'll be easily fusible. I just need to find like a sturdy enough fuse. I might use a circuit breaker, to be honest, because it's like a 60 amp. I think it spikes up to 60 amps or something like that. So with that being said, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please like, leave a video, or leave a comment. I always read your comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.